Hey there everyone, Paller here, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at City Skylines. Skylines actually released back in March. Unfortunately, when it came out, I was not making videos at the time, so I never got a chance to cover this game. Fortunately, however, it just released its first set of paid DLC in the After Dark expansion, and this gives me a chance to cover the game plus the DLC. For those of you that want the short and sweet version of this, City Skylines, the base game, is a terrific city builder with one major problem that can be fixed via mods, and is well worth the $15 asking price. The DLC, however, is also $15 just for it, and while it adds some nice flavor to the game and is a nice addition, it's not worth near the asking price. It's more of a $5 DLC than it is $15. For those of you sticking around and want a little more information, to begin with, we need to unfortunately start by talking about SimCity, in particular the reboot that came out in 2013. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but to understand Skylines, we need to understand that it was basically made as a response to the failings of SimCity. SimCity had many issues, and we don't need to rehash all of them here. But if you want my full opinions, here's a video I made of it when it was about a year old, covering everything going on in SimCity. The main point we want to cover today, though, is scale. In my opinion, and I believe most City Sim fans will believe me, this genre revolves around size. The larger the scope, the better the game. Giving us more room allows us more freedom. It gives us the ability to set up suburbs or different districts within one city. SimCity completely failed on this level. Instead of a larger sandbox, it gave us a smaller game on all levels. I think they did this for good intentions, I believe they planned down the road to integrate SimCity and The Sims into one game, where you would have your Sims in Sim 4 living in your SimCity city. There's a lot of Sims and cities in this sentence. And in order to do this, it would require an immense amount of processing power, something that modern computers would probably struggle with, especially on a large scale. So they reduced the scale of every city down greatly in order to accommodate this. They were trying with one game to appease two audiences. They wanted to get that traditional hardcore SimCity fan who are hardcore in their own way with that genre, but then they also wanted to get the Sims fans and get them to both play this one game. Unfortunately, the concessions made in order to do this made it just a terrible SimCity game, a city simulator. It was just bad at that. So, City Skylines comes along and went the complete opposite way. It went big. Your initial starting area is only a 2x2 square kilometer region, which is about the same size as the starting map of SimCity. But in SimCity, you get that and that's your only thing you have. City Skylines, you can expand on that as the game progresses. You start off with the 2x2. After a little bit of time, once your population has climbed, you can buy different regions until you finally have a 6x6 square kilometer region. Through mods, you can then go through and expand that even more to a 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer region. Doesn't sound that much, just 10 kilometers wide, but really that's 100 square kilometers, quite a large city. And to be fair, I think this is also a bit of a concession due to the technology. My computer, which is relatively strong, starts to crawl once I get to a population of about 180,000 people. And I can easily fit that 180,000 people in this 100 square kilometer grid. You can realistically push this to well over 200,000 people in this grid and still have room to spread out and expand. So while it's not as large as we'd like it to be, for what is doable with today's hardware for processing this many citizens, it's adequate. Beyond the map size, City Skylines does two other great things that SimCity abandoned. First is map customization. This was something that was key to the original SimCities. This was the ability to terraform, create your own map layouts to your heart's desire. City Skylines has this completely. There's a great terraforming option. You can go in, create any type of map you really want. It even goes so far as to allow you to import data from Google Maps. allowing you to directly pull topographic maps into the game of your hometown or any town that you want to add in. It's just a great option to have. The second big gain is a no-brainer, and if you've been paying attention, I've already said it a few times, and that is full mod support. This encompasses both small items like creating new structures, new buildings. You can create your own home, you can create schools, churches, or landmarks. Heck, you can create your favorite football stadium and put it into the game. There are also much deeper mods. I'm not really sure what they would be called, like scripting mods. Mods that add entirely new features to the game, change how certain systems in the game work. Some type of mods that you would see in Skyrim that just completely overhaul certain elements of the game are available, and the modding tools for these were available for the game from day one. As of time of recording, there are thousands of available mods within this game. Gameplay-wise, there's not a huge amount to speak of here. If you've played a SimCity game, City Skylines is going to play out very familiar to you. You're going to spend most of your time laying down roads. Then you're going to zone on those roads for either residential, commercial, or industrial. You're going to put down different districts. You're going to be setting up utilities for these roads. You're going to be putting down parks to improve land value. All of this is pretty familiar. The road creation tools are intuitive. They're easy to use. There's a nice snapping feature that allows you to really line grids up like you would expect in order to get nice 90-degree angles, have things running perpendicular and parallel to each other. There's this other little grid system that comes off of your road that shows the area of influence. This will be where buildings can be built, will form alongside the roads, so you know where to overlap roads, what type of spacing to put down between your roads for maximum efficiency. There's also a little designation tool that allows you to create districts within the game. It's a little underwhelming, but in theory what you can do is you can zone out like a residential district and name it Colonial Heights or something. And then within this district, you can give it its own little micro laws. You can ban heavy vehicles, or you can lower the tax rate in this district from the rest of the city in order to raise the chance of people moving there, increase its development. It's nothing crazy, but it's a nice little feature. Overall, though, the gameplay, if you've played a city simulator, you're going to know what you're doing. It's pretty straightforward, very easy to use. The game is not without its flaws, and this does lead into the largest problem with the game. There's something wrong with the traffic simulation in the game. The way traffic seems to work is each time a vehicle makes a turn onto a new road, it recalculates its shortest distance to its target, its destination. If, say, 5 miles down the road, the car is going to want to make a left-hand turn at the end of this road, it instantly tries to get into that left-hand lane. And what this does is it means if, say, most 70% of the cars are all going to be making a left-hand turn, all 70% of these cars are going to try to get into the left-hand lane. Even if it's a 3-lane road and the middle and left lane can turn left, they're all still going to try to get into the left-hand lane. And they're going to try to do this as soon as possible. So you end up with these traffic jams literally in the middle of nowhere on your highway, where all these cars are all trying to merge into one lane. You have a 4-lane road and 8 miles of backed up traffic all in one lane. You have 3 lanes with no cars in them at all. What you might notice as I zoom in and out here as I'm playing the game is there's a lot of skull and crossbones symbols in my city, and there's a lot of trash icons in my city, and occasionally you'll see some other icons. What these are is these are bodies waiting just from natural deaths to be picked up by hearses or trash, any of these things. And I actually, in my city, I have plenty of utilities for this. I got way more hearses than I need to, but because the traffic simulation's a little off, they're all just sitting in traffic. There's miles of traffic trucks just sitting in traffic, unable to get where they need to go because of this traffic problem. Now, with experience, you can learn to correct this through building the game. As you level up your city grows, you gain access to higher grade roads, and you'll learn how to use exits on and off ramps in order to keep traffic flowing. You can put 1-lane roads down in order to make sure people are always making right-hand turns, eliminating as many traffic lights as possible. But it takes a lot of trial and error, and what you'll do is end up building a section in your city, letting it generate revenue for you, and once you have a whole bunch of money, you build a whole new section, hopefully with better roads. and then you have to go back and you have to demolish the first section and rebuild it again with these newer roads. And then you generate more revenue, and then you have to go through and you build a new section that's hopefully even better, and then go back and demolish and rebuild the first two sections. And this is kind of how the game plays out. There is a rather robust public transportation system that is nice, and when set up correctly, you can alleviate a good chunk of your transportation. I've at best times been able to get about a quarter of my population to use public transit over vehicles, but it doesn't get rid of all of the problems. You're still going to be going through a lot of trial and error. Fortunately for us, though, as we discuss mods, there are some great mods out there that work to fix this. There's some that directly go in and try to affect the AI scripting. I've had mixed results with them. What I've had better results with are there are some mods that allow you to literally go in and you can set up like timers on your traffic lights. So say you have a long main road with a lot of cross sections on it. You can set it up so that road will all turn green simultaneously, so you can get all the traffic flowing. And you can let it flow for about 30 seconds, and then it'll turn red, and then you get all the crossroads to go. And you can go very in-depth with this. You can also go through and you can remove traffic lights, put them stop signs, yield signs, set priority right-of-way lines. It allows you to really dive in. Now, it does require a lot of micromanagement, because as you start getting this city bigger, you're going to have a lot of intersections, and you have to watch where your traffic problems are, and you're going to have to still redo a lot of those intersections, changing how you handle them. And that's really the biggest problem with the game. I do have two smaller problems with the game. The first of the two small problems is the distribution of the public utilities, power, and water. Both systems that are used in this are time wasters more than anything else. There's no complexity or depth to them. You set up a water treatment or a water pumping station and a water treatment station. You connect them with a water line. You then, if you want to have water in this one area, you draw a line, and the water pipe has a certain amount of influence to the left and right of it. You drop that down, then you draw another one next to it with another amount of influence, and you try to overlap them as little as possible, and then another one. And that's all that there is to it. There's nothing to calculate. There's no added depth to the game because of this. Power is almost the exact same way. And on a city simulator like this, for what they did, they would have been just as good to have it where you put down the water and you run the water to the road, and then as long as the road has water, any building on that road or the joining roads would have water. It would have been just as good without the extra annoyance of it. If they wanted to go with something greater than that, then they would have gone much deeper and actually have like flow and return, where there would be something to take control of, something to put agency into in order to set up the flow rate. As it is right now, it's just a pointless added nothing. It doesn't add anything to the game. My other complaint is really probably not fair to throw at the game, but it is still something that just bothers me a little bit. And it's because it was something SimCity actually did very well. And that was these upgradable buildings, mainly the infrastructure buildings like your schools and your power, or your police department, your fire department, the trash pickup. All these buildings were expandable to account for your city population as it grew. So you would start off with just a basic elementary, and then at some point you would need more student coverage. So you would add on another floor. And it just worked really well. It was very nicely done. Unfortunately, Skylines doesn't have anything like this. So if one elementary isn't enough to handle your student population, you have to just put down a whole second elementary. And even though you might only need 5 students more than the one elementary can hold, there's nothing you can do about that. You put down a second one. As such, around my city, I have like 9 different elementary schools and like 4 different high schools. A whole lot of fire departments everywhere because each one can only cover a small area. It's a minor thing, it really is, but it was one area that SimCity really did quite well. I would have loved to have seen it brought over for City Skylines. It's something that I thought maybe the modding community could have done. I'm not sure, maybe the engine can't handle it because it's not been happened so far. A little disappointing, but it doesn't really detract from the game all that much. Overall, minus the one big bugbear in regards to the traffic problems, City Skylines is currently the best available city simulator on the market. If you even remotely enjoy this genre of game, it is well worth the $15 asking price. If you've never played a city simulator and you think you might enjoy one, this is the one to pick up. This is where you want to start off with. If this genre was never something that you're into, however, Skylines is very much directed at that return demographic from SimCity 2000, SimCity 4. It's not going to do anything new. It's not going to bring you in. It didn't go anywhere out of the box for non-fans of the genre. The After Dark DLC, on the other hand, is a different story. The DLC has three main focuses to it. First is the day-night cycle, for which it is named, and seeing your city light up in the night is quite spectacular. The lighting and detail really does look good. Beyond the visual change from day to night, it does give your traffic a chance to ease up a bit as people go home, gives your roads a chance to reset so you can see them again the next morning and see where your real problems are. Helps a little bit with the traffic, but that's about it. Secondly, it added leisure-style buildings that can be used to increase land value, similar to parks can, and it also increases happiness within your citizens. It does a third thing where it generates revenue from tourists. You can now bring in more tourists with airports and everything to see these leisure buildings. Lastly, there was a small rework of the crime system. You now need to house your criminals after they've been arrested, so that you can now build a prison with them. And then there are some certain laws you can pass depending on how you want to handle your criminals. All three of these elements are nice additions to the game, especially the day-night cycle. The problem is the price tag. They're asking $15 for this, same price as the base game. That's the only bugbear on it. That's what holds it up. If this was $5, maybe $7, I would say, yeah, go for it. But at this price point, it is not worth it. Wait for it to go on sale, which it will do, and get it then. Well, I think that about does it for today. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Have you been playing City Skylines? Do you like it as much as I do? Do you have the same problems with traffic that I do? It's entirely possible that maybe I'm just really bad at this game and there's nothing wrong with the traffic situation at all. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, though, this has been Paller. Thanks for watching.